Careblazer, welcome back. Last week was part one in this series where we're talking about what is new and happening in the dementia field of research and advancements. Last week's video, we specifically talked about the advancements in being able to detect dementia earlier, to be able to treat earlier stages of Alzheimer's disease, and how we have clearer answers than we've ever had before, including an exciting new direction of precision medicine, personalized medicine. So if you missed all of that, that was in last week's video, which is linked below this one in the description. But today I want to go a layer deeper. And this two-part series is all based on the NIH 2025 study summarizing the advancements in research we are finding in the field of dementia. For many caregivers, the questions are not necessarily just about treating the dementia. It's more about understanding what they're seeing in their loved ones. Why is this happening to my loved one? Why did it happen to my loved one? They were healthy their whole life. They exercised. They ate a great diet. Why does it look so different from person to person? My loved one has Alzheimer's disease and is in his 80s. My neighbor's loved one has Alzheimer's disease and is in his 80s, and they have completely different symptoms with completely different challenges. Why does caregiving feel so uneven, unpredictable, overwhelming? The 2025 NIH Progress Report answers a lot of those questions, or at least tries to help answer some of those questions. Not in simple, comforting ways that sound nice, but in honest, real, meaningful ways. So in this video, we're going to share 3 things that we learned from that progress report. 1, what researchers are learning about dementia risk and protection, what is actually happening in the brain beyond memory loss, and what the science is finally telling us about care, planning, and the caregiving experience. Let's start first with risk. Dementia risk is not one thing. This is one of the clearest messages from that NIH report. Dementia risk is not determined by one single factor. It is shaped by genetics, health conditions, environment, lifestyle, social experience, and access to care. You may have heard about the APOE4 gene, which is a gene that increases somebody's risk for dementia. Having one copy of that gene increases Alzheimer's risk. Having 2 copies of that gene significantly increases your risk. But the new research is showing something important. It's showing that risk does not operate in the same way for everyone. Studies show that ancestry matters. So for example, some Black individuals with African ancestry show lower levels of amyloid than expected, even when cognitive symptoms are present. That means biomarkers and risk models developed in mostly white populations may not work the same for everyone. Researchers are also discovering rare gene variants. In one remarkable case, a man with a strong genetic mutation for Alzheimer's remained cognitively healthy for decades. And what the researchers found was that he carried several protective variants as well, protective variants related to inflammation and protein regulation. So this is telling us something critical. Resilience is not just one magic gene. It's about a network of genes working together. For caregivers, this helps explain why dementia doesn't follow a straight line or a single story. The NIH report also reinforced something that many of us know intuitively, and that is that lifestyle and social factors matter even when dementia-related changes are already present in the brain. Research is clear. It is showing that people who engage in regular physical activity, eat balanced diets, avoid smoking, limit alcohol, and stay socially and cognitively active tend to manage better thinking abilities as they age. We mentioned this in part 1, but the one diet that has a lot of strong evidence for brain protection and slower cognitive decline is the MIND diet. It's been linked to slower biological aging, reduced dementia risk, particularly for women and Black older adults. At the same time, The research highlights risk factors that are often outside of individual control. These are risk factors such as food insecurity, chronic stress, loneliness, and exposure to discrimination. Those factors increase dementia risk and worsen outcomes. This is super important because it reminds us that dementia is not just a medical condition, it's shaped by lived experience. For caregivers, this research validates something especially important. Strain and stress are not personal failures, they are risk factors that deserve support. I love that way of thinking. Perhaps every time we do something kind to ourselves, nice for ourselves, give ourselves a break, it's not just because we are tired and need rest. It's because we are trying to protect our brain and prevent what's happening in our loved ones from happening to ourselves. So let's talk about sex differences in dementia. Women make up about 2/3 of Americans living with Alzheimer's disease, and this is not explained by longevity alone. We've known for a long time that women have higher rates of dementia than men. It would often be followed up with a comment that, well, women live longer than men. But that's not the full picture. The NIH report shows meaningful sex differences and how dementia develops. What it's finding is that women appear to have fewer compensatory pathways in the brain, which may help explain why some symptoms for women especially tend to emerge more suddenly or progress differently. Also, in Lewy body dementia, women are more likely to have overlapping Alzheimer's pathology, meaning both Alzheimer's dementia and Lewy body dementia. And these findings are pushing researchers toward sex-specific approaches to diagnosis and treatment, not assuming that it's just treatment for a particular type of dementia. We're now looking at treatment of this particular type of dementia for this sex. So for caregivers, this might help explain why symptoms and progression can look so different across families. So what's actually happening in the brain? For years, dementia focused heavily on amyloid and tau. These proteins still matter. There's still lots of research being done on them. But the NIH report makes it clear that that's only a part of the story. It's not the whole story. And vascular health is a major factor. Research shows that amyloid damages the cells lining blood vessels by interfering with energy production. Blood flow changes can appear early, even before visible damage. This helps explain why conditions like blood pressure, heart disease, and stroke raises dementia risk so significantly. Energy metabolism is another emerging area. In Alzheimer's disease, a molecule called IDO1 becomes overactive. This prevents supportive brain cells from providing neurons with the fuel that they need. And when researchers block that pathway in models, those support cells start to function normally again. This is a potential future treatment target. Researchers are also identifying proteins beyond amyloid and tau. TDP43, linked to conditions like frontotemporal dementia, begins misbehaving years before visible changes start to show up. This tells us something crucial, which we have said before from this progress report, is that what we are calling Alzheimer's disease is likely multiple overlapping diseases, not a single one process. Again, why this personalized approach that we're starting to go toward is so important. Now, this progress report didn't just focus on biology. While that is incredibly important, it also focused on planning, care quality, and difficult decisions. NIH-funded researchers are developing predictive models that use factors like age, daily functioning, driving ability, and fall history to help estimate when someone may need long-term care. They're not perfect tools, but they could help families plan earlier and avoid crisis-driven decisions. Research that's been conducted on nursing homes show that increasing staffing certainly improves outcome, but staffing alone is not enough. Facilities with more people who have dementia tend to use more medications to manage behaviors and see greater declines in daily functioning. At the same time, they have fewer pressure injuries and fewer emergency room visits. This tells us that specialized training, specifically in how to respond to some of those dementia-related behaviors, is critical. Not surprisingly, the progress report also highlighted about how dementia care is so incredibly expensive. And that expense doesn't always result in the best care. In fact, NIH is currently studying hospitalization and long-term acute care outcomes. And one sobering finding is that in long-term acute care hospitals, most adults over the age 50 experience poor outcomes or death within a few years. Outcomes are even worse if that person has dementia. This does not mean families should never choose these settings. However, it does mean there needs to be some really honest, open conversations about goals of care, quality of life, palliative care options, and how do we improve hospital and acute care setting. One of the most meaningful sections of the report that I think will resonate with a lot of you, because I hear Careblazers talk to me about it all the time, is this concept of lucidity. Basically, researchers have documented moments where people with advanced dementia become briefly aware, communicative, emotionally connected, as if for these brief moments, they're totally fine. Those moments are often very short-lived, but they profoundly impact the family members who have witnessed it. Interestingly, the majority of these lucid moments, they occur during family visits, which is suggesting that connection and environment is playing a big role here. And this research reminds us of what we already know, which is even in advanced dementia, there is more happening in the brain than we can actually see. So as we close out part 2 of this 2-part video series, what does all this mean for you? It means that dementia is complex and it's not determined by just one factor. It means biology, environment, and care all matter. It also means that research is finally taking into consideration caregiving, planning, and quality of life seriously. The science is complex, but the message is simple. Progress is happening on every front, and families deserve clear, honest guidance about it. Careblazers is here to help you make sense of the science, the care decision, the emotional weight that comes along this journey. I will be back next week, as always, with another video. Until then, I am sending you so much love. I have linked the full progress report from the NIH in the description below this video, as well as a link to our Dementia Dose newsletter where you can sign up to receive weekly insights, trainings, tips, and tools that are helping the Careblazers in our amazing community. All right, sending you so much love. Bye.
Also, Nico gets a belly rub for every person who subscribes from this video. So if you haven't already, click the red subscribe button. It's totally free, and Nico says thank you very much.